I think Ethereum, like long term, it's a great long term opportunity. I think it's definitely got a future. I mean, we have the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which has got like so many different companies, financial and tech, behind them now, and
a new silver company for investors, with Keith Neumeyer agreeing to become a major shareholder. Luke Norman, co-founder of Gold Standard Ventures, is the new chairman, and the company has acquired 3 former First Majestic silver properties. To learn more about this must-own silver stock,
go to crushthestreet.com/silver1. That's crushthestreet.com/silver1. And welcome into crushthestreet.com. Joined today with Luke Dodwell, cryptocurrency editor here at crushthestreet.com. His own YouTube channel is Yes for Motivation. Luke, we got a lot to talk about today. How you doing today?
I'm really good. Thank you for having me as well. Thank you for having me.
Well, man, so much to talk about. Ethereum is quietly, or I don't know about quietly, violently creeping up on Bitcoin here. The last I checked, Bitcoin was at 2,800. Ethereum has hit $400. And in case people aren't following it, just a few days ago, it was $250. And on Friday, I fell asleep. It was $300. And then I woke up, it was $350. And now we're looking at $400 Ethereum. And Bitcoin has currently a $46 billion market cap, and Ethereum, I just figured this out today, I calculated it, just to match that market cap, it just has to go to $495, and wow, it will surpass and match Bitcoin's market cap. Man, I want to get your thoughts on Ethereum. I mean, most people didn't think this could happen.
Yeah, it's quite insane how fast it's all happened. This time last year, Bitcoin's lead over all of the cryptocurrencies, including Ethereum, was huge. So it shows how far things have come. In regards to Ethereum, yeah, I mean, I think Ethereum, like long term, it's a great long-term opportunity. I think it's definitely got a future. I mean, we have the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, which has got like so many different companies, financial and tech, behind them now, and that's a big deal. And I think that's probably part of the reason why Ethereum is pumping so much. You've got companies like Microsoft, Cisco, JP Morgan. So many companies, and that list has grown in the last sort of month as well. It's so clearly there's definitely like a long-term vision that they have for Ethereum. I think in terms of Ethereum's price, I think that's probably why Ethereum's pumping so much. Another thing that's making Ethereum pump, in my opinion, is these ICOs that are these startups, basically the initial coin offerings, and they're basically releasing these smart contracts with tokens on Ethereum's blockchain, because Ethereum is basically an application builder. It's a hub of innovation, and I think that's helping prop up the price, because these ICOs are generating huge amounts of money. People are investing huge amounts, and it's propping up Ethereum's whole ecosystem in general. And although a lot of these ICOs, in my opinion, are quite scammy, there's probably a few gems in there, but I think eventually Ethereum will have to kind of go to proof of stake. I mean, there's articles about it where they're going to go from proof of work to proof of stake. That would kind of mean that would mean that you could potentially have 2 versions of Ethereum, where there could, because a lot of miners are going to be out of work, right? They're not going to be able to mine Ethereum, so you could have Ethereum split off into proof of stake, and then Ethereum go into proof of work, and then you have Ethereum Classic as well. So we could have 3 versions of Ethereum running around on the markets. What will that do to the ICOs? I don't know. Will the ICOs get forked as well? That's the big question. And when will Ethereum fork to proof of stake? No one knows. How long's a piece of string? We'll have to ask the Alliance that, because they will probably have a say in that. So I did I've done a few videos on Ethereum. I've done a long-term video on Ethereum where I think Ethereum could be like a sort of Internet of Things Volume 2, like a sort of platform application with loads of little applications within it. And I spoke about that in that video, where it could be like where the Internet of Things point 2 could kind of be used upon. I've also done another video very recently, which was more of a short-term video, and I titled it Ethereum $500 or $50. And basically, I explained how, basically what I've just said, but I also explained how easily Ethereum can be pumped, because obviously there's a lot of financial backing behind it, there's a lot of financial resources and technological resources behind it, but also how easily Ethereum could correct back down to like $100 or $50. It's easy, especially if a hard fork happens and that doesn't go that smoothly. If it forks into different versions, and basically, a lot of people kind of said, "Oh, that was saying that I was fear mongering and stuff." When really, from any kind of logical background, or anyone that's an expert in finance or economics, all you have to do is look at the chart of Ethereum and look and think like, yeah, this spike is steep. Anything can happen. And we saw like 2 weeks ago when Bitcoin corrected and the whole all the other altcoins corrected with it. Ethereum went from like $200 something to like $120, and I wasn't being negative about Ethereum. I'm not. I think Ethereum's got a bright future ahead of it, but we have to be realistic about these things, and these things can happen very easily. And when something goes from like, I don't know, I mean, how much was Ethereum at the start of the year? Like, I don't know, like $10, $20?
Yeah.
Anything goes from like $10 to $20 to this price in that amount of time, there's bound to be, the pendulum is always going to swing the other way. I mean, that's just basic kind of economics. I'm not an economics expert, but it's just common sense in my view.
Sure.
I think and it's like a lot of people, Ethereum could, before Ethereum forks, it will probably go to $500. It can easily match Bitcoin's market cap because of the financial backing behind it. I'm not saying that it won't, but we have to be realistic and remain logical with these things. And anything can happen, right? I mean, if it can go up that fast, then it can come down that fast,
right?
And
Yeah, I mean, only 3 months ago, exactly 3 months ago, it was like $18, and Ethereum has just been on this steep exponential growth here, which is very exciting, actually. I mean, for people who have invested on it. So I want to get your thoughts here on Ethereum a little bit more here. You mentioned the Alliance, and you have companies like JP Morgan, Microsoft, Intel. And I guess my thing is, and I've talked to other people about this, is that I don't think these big multi-billion-dollar corporations are going to get screwed, which I suppose lends itself to Ethereum's credibility. But I'd like for you to comment on that, and also just present the real threats for why some people are very hesitant to invest in Ethereum. We got people out there like Tone Vays and Adam Meister, they say, hey, be careful with these things because there's some real vulnerabilities inside of the code.
Yeah, I've heard things about that as well. Yeah, they're absolutely right. In terms of the big corporations not getting screwed over, I mean, I personally think like Ethereum's price is kind of manipulated. So, I mean, that's my personal opinion, and that's just based on what I've seen for the last sort of 12 months and stuff. So, would they be screwed? I mean, if Ethereum's price went down, probably not. They probably would. It would probably be all kind of like they'll probably have an action plan for that and buy and sell at the right times. I don't see big corporations using a Poloniex exchange. It just doesn't add up. So yeah, that's my personal opinion on Ethereum in terms of its price. It is manipulated, but I think why a lot of people are cautious with Ethereum on that side of the fence is because of like the unlimited supply. It's basically unlimited $400-$300 Ethereum coins or tokens being mined non-stop all the time. And yeah, Ethereum's got that innovative side to it where it can create all these, where it's like basically an application builder. But I've heard that Ethereum's had a few little problems with they're coming across some scaling problems. I've heard as well. So it seems like they're starting to come across the same problems that Bitcoin is having with scaling. Eventually, to solve all these little problems, they're probably going to have to fork again. That's what happened last time when they got DDoS attacked, and they forked, and I think they forked twice. So it makes sense that, and plus, like you said, with all these huge companies backing Ethereum, working with Ethereum, the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, they're not going to tolerate any sort of problems like that. So they're just going to be like, right, this needs to get forked, upgrade, and so that's what I think will happen. It just cements the whole possibility of Ethereum going to proof of stake. Like I said, when is anyone's guess. Is how long's a piece of string?
Wow. Yeah, and I mean, how do you put your trust in something like that if Ethereum does fork like it did not too long ago? Was it about a year ago or so? They had the DAO problem.
Yeah, I think it was a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago. Yeah. So it can happen again. Hopefully, it goes smoothly. People don't want to lose their money. It's not nice to lose money, or have your money in anything high risk. But these things, it's going to eventually happen. There's articles. If you just Google Ethereum proof of stake, you'll see a lot of articles saying about it and stuff. It is a reality, and people who have done their research are aware of this. So yeah, it's just something to be aware of.
So Luke, let's talk about Bitcoin here. They're the big boys on the block still, even though Ethereum is catching up here in a large way. Yeah. The problem we have is the block size debate, and this has been going on. And I want to talk about BIP148. And this is a big deal, August 1st date. And man, many are debating on whether or not we're going to get this SegWit implemented. We have this user-activated soft fork. Maybe you could just shed some light into what is going on here and your thoughts on it all. And maybe you can clear up the air for anyone who's confused as well.
Yeah, it's very easy to get confused from these things. Basically, BIP148 user-activated soft fork is it basically means that SegWit's happening on August the 1st. We're going to get a version of Bitcoin with SegWit activated regardless. So I think the reason for it really is to kind of give the miners a kick up the behind in terms of activating it, because at the moment the miners have such a huge monopoly on the Bitcoin ecosystem at the moment with the transaction fees and the ASIC boost as well, the mining boost that was recently discovered as well. So that kind of hindered SegWit as well. So this is so BIP148 is kind of like the end result of all this. Is kind of like, I think everyone's had enough of it all now, and people want to see Bitcoin flourish. All the problems with Bitcoin at the moment can be easily solved with SegWit. So it basically all that BIP148 requires is for miners to signal for SegWit and enforce the new rules. And what happens is that I think they have to activate a node which enforces BIP148 and the legacy chain as well. And then that's basically a forked version, if I'm correct, a forked version of Core's version of Bitcoin with BIP148 added on as well. So basically what will happen is as long as you keep your coins private, have your own private keys, you might temporarily see two versions of Bitcoin, the legacy chain and BIP148 chain. But if it goes smoothly, that should kind of go back together. I don't recommend if your wallet tries to get you to choose a particular chain, I would just not choose either at the moment when it happens. And because if you choose chain A, you might end up seeing chain B be accepted, and then chain A may not be valid. So that's where it gets a bit confusing, and that's where people can kind of get a bit messed over by that. But as long as you have keep your Bitcoin private and have your own private keys, and you just keep it safe, it should be okay. It should be okay. But either way, we're going to get SegWit, a version of SegWit live. So it'll be interesting. I don't think anyone really knows what's going to happen, and it's uncharted grounds. But I'm trying to research it as much as possible as well. And yeah, it's interesting, but it's also kind of scary at the same time. But hopefully, because we don't want two versions of Bitcoin running around, it's just going to confuse people, and it's going to take away one of Bitcoin's most unique selling points, which is this whole 21 million supply thing. So yeah, so hopefully it will go smoothly. Like I said, who knows what's going to happen, but hopefully just be safe and look after your coins, have your private keys, and then you'll be in control of it a bit more. You know, do not keep it on exchanges.
Right. And yeah, that's, I think, what people are concerned about, is that is Bitcoin as immutable as we all thought it was from the beginning? And I would assume that that's why we're seeing a lot of this spike in all of these altcoins here, maybe even Ethereum at that. And Bitcoin has done so well, really. I mean, it's gone in just the very short period of time, and it hit 3,000 here. It's back down to 2,800. But the thing is would Bitcoin be doing better without all of this? If we had SegWit, would these other altcoins still be further behind, and would Bitcoin be at 5,000 or even higher?
That's a good question. That's the $1 million question, or the million Bitcoin question. Because I think, I think you've got a point. I think the fear of forking back in was it February, March, all that fear that was going around the markets definitely set Bitcoin's price back. So I think Bitcoin would probably be a little bit more expensive by now if there wasn't any sort of fears. If the community was more unified, then yeah, definitely Bitcoin would be more further ahead in its overall destiny. If we had SegWit a bit earlier, and SegWit, if SegWit wasn't blocked, if everyone kind of just if greed and emotion and politics wasn't kind of slowing down Bitcoin, and we had SegWit, then yeah, I think Bitcoin would be worth much more. We saw what SegWit did for Litecoin, right? It kind of injected life back into Litecoin. So yeah, definitely, if we get SegWit, we would see Bitcoin increase in price. Definitely. How much by? I mean, God knows, but it would be much more than what we're seeing now. And what we're seeing now, I mean, Bitcoin, despite all these problems and all this congestion, Bitcoin is still doing very, very well in terms of its price. I mean, damn, $3,000 Bitcoin. I mean, this time last year, who would have thought, eh?
Well, I did an interview with Trace a few months ago, and the title was $3,000 Bitcoin. And I didn't, that wasn't my words, those were his. And man, he was someone that I wish I listened to at a much earlier stage. And I'm happy with the gains I've had, but major game changers if I would have just put a little bit in at a much earlier stage. So
I remember I was saying to my friend, I always say it to him, I say I was in uni like back in 2010 or something, back a while ago, and I remember thinking, man, if I was saying to my friend, if we went halves on Bitcoin back then, I mean, by now we would we'll be laughing right now. But hey, look, things happen for a reason. I don't hold any regrets on anything in life. Everything happens for a reason. It's all a learning curve. And hey, at least we know about it. Now, we're still early. That's the thing. Like, this isn't even mainstream yet. And look what it's doing. So, I mean, and that's the thing. A lot of people that have Bitcoin, that own Bitcoin, they don't even know that this whole scaling battle, debate, civil war thing is even happening. So in August 1st, and if they hold their coins privately, they're going to look and see what's going on, and they're going to be like, what the hell is going on? So we're still early birds, mate. We're still early birds.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right on that. And you brought up Litecoin here, and I want to talk about that. I want to talk about some of these other altcoins in this segment of the interview. And Litecoin really hasn't kept up if you compare it to Ethereum and even Bitcoin. It had that big move when SegWit came around. But I just want to get your thoughts here on where Litecoin is. It's been between $25 and $30 here for some time. Do you expect more from Litecoin, or is it just kind of the old news? Because really, when you think about it, Litecoin was the altcoins. Back a few years ago, it was the altcoin, and now it seems just something on the back burner.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Like, Litecoin is kind of like, it's like a boring altcoin, and I don't mean that in any disrespect. I mean that with total respect. I mean, sometimes it's good to have boring currencies. It can be, it's sometimes a good thing. But I think Litecoin is kind of dusting itself off a bit. There's a lot going on. It's kind of all the old Litecoin domains names are kind of activating again, and Charlie Lee's helping out with Litecoin a lot, and he's doing a lot for Litecoin. I think the Litecoin are going to be adding like a privacy feature as well, and they're going to be upgrading some kind of Litecoin wallet as well. So I think there's definitely a lot to be excited about with Litecoin. But yeah, I mean, it's basically like it's like Bitcoin's little brother, really. It's the most legit altcoin in my opinion. I mean, and like Tone Vaser said that as well. Like when it comes to altcoins, like in terms of launching, Litecoin is probably the most is as legit as it's going to get. So that's one of the things I like about Litecoin. There's no drama behind it, and there's no mayhem behind it, no sort of controversy. But I mean, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think Litecoin's got a good future. I think that when Bitcoin like scales and can do what all the other coins are using as a unique selling point, we might see a lot of the altcoins kind of contract a little bit. But who knows? I mean, the logical rule book is kind of thrown out the window in this space, I've noticed. So anything's on the table with this at the moment.
Yeah. And just watching even coin market cap with Ethereum rising, I just get the feeling like people are selling other coins. They're selling Bitcoin to buy Ethereum.
Exactly.
You know, at this point. And that really is a investor psychology. And man, you can write a book on the type of investor psychology that we're all dealing with right now. Is, wow, it's ran so high, but I don't want to miss out if it goes to 10,000, if Bitcoin goes to 10,000, and maybe Bitcoin did its thing. So I want to put my money in the next big thing. And that's why everyone's throwing their money at the altcoins. And but they're in a bubble, and all the things that we're dealing with and people dipping their toes in their water and then regretting that they only invested a fraction of what they had and only making a little bit of money when they could have made an absolute fortune. There's all these things, all these dynamics going on, and unfortunately, in bubbles, people end up betting the farm at the top. And that's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried. I'm worried about everyone betting the farm at the top and then watching it get cut in half by 50%, which is very possible.
Exactly. And it's like, the thing is though, I got like an interesting insight with that, because if the higher Ethereum goes, in a way, the higher Bitcoin goes, because at the end of the day, a lot of these altcoins are traded on speculation and to make more Bitcoin. So if everyone's making a ton of profit with all these altcoins, and then they cash out to Bitcoin, that's going to push Bitcoin's price up as well. So I don't, if I was Bitcoin, Bitcoin shouldn't really feel threatened by these altcoins, because when people want to dump into Bitcoin or dump back in, or then go into their local fiat currencies, which people still do, that's fine. It's good to diversify. It's going to prop up Bitcoin's price as well. So in a way, in a kind of parallel mindset, you got to think, the more expensive these altcoins get, the more expensive Bitcoin gets. And that's fine. Hey, look, that means everyone's happy then, right? I mean, so it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes it's a bit different. Sometimes one coin will crash, another one will rise. But people usually look to Bitcoin as a safe haven, don't they? So, I just thought I'd throw that insight in there.
Well, I'd like to talk about a couple more altcoins here, and Ripple. It's number 3 on coin market cap. Few interesting things about it. Obviously, it's number 3 out of almost 1,000 different altcoins out there, digital currencies, cryptocurrencies. So some interesting things about it, right? It's competing with the banking system, the SWIFT system, transferring money. So, some thoughts on this for people who are getting into cryptos. It's all interesting. Ripple, I mean, this like about 6 months ago, Ripple wasn't even half a penny. It was worth nothing, and it just surged out of nowhere. But basically, Ripple is trying to be like a digital Western Union, and a lot of banks are working with Ripple now, and
as a sort of payment network where they can send funds instantly, and much more cost effective. Ripple, there's a lot of controversy with Ripple because of their pre-mine and because they've locked up so like 70% of their coins or their tokens, XRP. So there's a lot of people don't like Ripple because of that centralized aspect of it, and I understand that. Where you've got Bitcoin, which is totally decentralized, and you've got Ripple, which is which is kind of their target audience, their target market is the banks. They're working with SoftBank in Japan, work with Bank of England. So there's a lot of money behind them as well. So it's interesting to see how the banks are kind of scrambling to keep up with this kind of with cryptocurrency. And I know the banks. I read somewhere that I think like Citibank and JP Morgan are trying to develop their own sort of cryptocurrency as well. So I don't know how that ties in with Ripple. Maybe they're going to use Ripple's infrastructure, their payment network, to use their coins on or something. So again, only time will tell. But it's interesting to see what's going on. But I also understand why people wouldn't like Ripple because of the centralized aspect and it works with the bank. So there's but in terms of profit, a lot of people have made a lot of money with Ripple recently, and it surged from like 1 cent or less than 1 cent to like 30 cents, and now it's around 20 cents or 25 cents. But it's interesting. They're doing some interesting things.
I've also learned that they actually all their coins are out there. They're mined already, and they're just being held in escrow accounts, and they're like slowly releasing them. Yeah,
they're trickling them out. Yeah, they're trickling it out. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with Ripple. Maybe one day it could go to $1 in maybe 10 years time. Who knows? If they get pumped up by the banks as well, it could happen. Have to wait and see what happens. But it's interesting, right? It's interesting to see how technology and how the banks are desperately trying to keep up.
All right, Luke. So I want to give you an opportunity. What are there any other altcoins that have piqued your interest that you feel is worth talking about here in this interview?
There's NEM. Again, very similar to Ripple. They also have masternodes as well, and they as well have made crazy gains in price from literally a couple hundred satoshis, and now they're trading at 20 cents around that mark now. I think they're number 5 on CoinMarketCap. And they're doing some interesting things as well. I think it's called Apostle that they're releasing some kind of platform. So it'll be interesting. And I think their algorithm is proof of importance, which is basically, in layman's terms, is basically based on how much a user is using that cryptocurrency. So rather than proof of work or proof of stake, is how much you kind of transact it and use it. So to encourage people not to hold it, but more so to use it or something like that. So so they've got some interesting things coming out. So it'll be interesting to see how they go on. They built their code from scratch as well, which is quite interesting. It's not like a hard fork or a copycat coin like so many others are. So it's interesting. And we've got, there's loads more. We've got there's like game credits for gaming. They've got a gaming store. That's pretty interesting. They did an ICO recently with Mobile Go. So there's so many. I think there's like 700 to 800 coins out there now or something. And then you got the tokens, the ICO tokens. Those are quite high risk though. But yeah, it's a whole ecosystem of different coins, different blockchains. Supposedly trying to solve problems in the real world, trying to automate and innovate.
I suppose it really will come down to a big shakeout event and big companies such as what we're seeing in Ethereum coming together and picking one, because we can't ultimately live in a world with whatever thousands and thousands of different digital currencies, because people need to be able to put their money somewhere and have some sense of understanding that it's not going to be so volatile ultimately. And yeah. I guess that's the evolution of what we can ultimately expect, is where are people going to ultimately gravitate towards, and what is the market going to say, hey, this is the one that we're going to use, and you can be confident in it?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's literally, I mean, well, Ethereum is, like we said before, it's got the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance. So so they must have some kind of plan with them. So maybe Ethereum one day might release some killer application that just revolutionizes things. Who knows, right? But like you said, I mean, eventually, once the dust settles, we could see something. But I mean, how long's a piece of string? I mean, it's just the chosen blockchain may not even be built yet, for all we know. So, yeah.
Oh man, well, hey Luke, it was a pleasure talking with you, and I appreciate all the work that you do here at Crush the Street, and the insight, you've given us today. So, if people, if you want to just leave us here with a couple words of advice, I know it's just the Wild West, you said before in the pre-interview, really, with all these altcoins and even just cryptocurrencies in general. So, just any last words?
Just be careful. Watch out for the scams. Do the research. If people do choose to invest in ICOs, because that's very popular at the moment, just be very, very, very careful and research the ICO thoroughly. Literally, just research. That's the best thing anyone can do. Just research and learn and understand how it all works, even if it means learning about the basics of like coding or something. I don't know. Just learn, just research as much as you can, because if you don't research, one little mistake and you can lose your funds. And so just don't get scammed. That's my best advice.
Good deal, Luke. Good deal.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, we will be in contact very soon. Everyone out there in Crush the Street land, be sure to check out Luke's work at the website at crushthestreet.com. Thanks, Luke. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you very much.